Today I want to show you how to paint trees in the background like these, and specifically that big tree on the right. I actually made it a lot bigger so you can see how to render that big tree. Um, I am just applying some very transparent green here so that to give it like a background, but I'm leaving some areas empty because those are going to be the areas that are going to shine the light through. And these other trees on the left, they're actually like fully, the body is completely covered by the foliage, so to speak. It doesn't really have any leaves. These are cypress trees, so they are quite full. Quite often you can't see through them at all. Their branches are extremely thick with all sorts of what they do have like pine needles, but they're not really pine needles. It's a lot thicker. I'm also painting some of the tree goes above the wall and it goes down as you look through the wall, and it will be hanging basically there. So I'm making this wall a little bit darker because that's going to be in the shadow, and the rest of that house, that those houses are going to be in the sun. So the sun is actually on the left side and shining towards the right. So we're going to make those houses a lot lighter. And I'm painting the church here, which is I believe it's a Romantic church, and this is the town of Pienza in Tuscany, and it's a little teeny tiny town on top of a mountain, but beautiful. And it was an extremely important town during medieval times, but today it's just visited by a lot of tourists because it has a lot of quaint places where to take pictures, and it lost its glamour, but now it's a really important part of if you come to Tuscany, any tour guide will tell you to go visit Pienza. It's beautiful. It has views all over the place, and it's located in a valley that's called Val d'Orcia. And Val d'Orcia is one of the few. First of all, it's a UNESCO site, so it belongs to humanity, and also it's incredibly beautiful to look at. It's the classic Tuscany that you can see on postcards, with the one lone pine tree. And you should come and visit sometime. So this house here that I'm painting right now, that's going to be the one in the sun. And we're going to do some very sharp shadows here because the sun is shining at the house directly. So it's a direct sunlight. And so the steeple here, which is also made of marble, it's a church that has a steeple that's different from the church. It's not made of stone, it's made of marble, and it's quite white. I'm applying some shadows here to make the church come out. Here I'm painting these windows, which appear to be extremely dark, but that's because there are windows, and this entire facade of the church is actually in shadow. So everything is going to look very dark on this facade, and then the trees in the front are going to cast a shadow on the facade. So it's a double whammy because you're going to have many shadows crisscrossing each other there. So it's quite challenging from a technical point of view. Right now I'm painting these shadows underneath the arches, which is exactly how It's supposed to be if it was illuminated directly with the sun, but this entire facade is already in the shadow. So we're going to do something else later, which is we're going to cast more shadows on the facade, and you will see how it is. This I'm just applying a shadow underneath. There's like a little indent there, so I want to make sure that it's visible because there's a shadow there. Also underneath the roof, there's going to be another shadow here, and I want to make sure that the shadow is actually bigger than all the other ones, because this one, it's basically the roof overhanging that's going to cast a shadow on it. I'm also painting this. This was kind of like a round piece, and people could go there and watch the view from there. The view is really spectacular because there's nothing obstructing the view, so you can see the whole Tuscany, the landscape. And this thing is made of stone, so I'm trying to make the stones here. Not really succeeding, but I gave it the idea that there's a stone there. It's a stone wall, basically. And it's a really beautiful city. If you have the chance to come, you should definitely go visit. It is accessible only by car, but I think a bus goes there too. And I'm trying to make this wall a little bit darker because it is a different kind than the yellow house. And there's little benches there that people sit on them. I don't know if you've seen them in the picture, but basically there's a lot of people there. I'm painting here the overhang for the roof, and this is going to be a very dark place because the sun is right above it, and it's basically it's casting the shadow underneath. So the shadow underneath is going to be really dark, almost black. And then we're also going to do the shadow that's casted by this overhang on the wall, which is going to be a little lighter than the shadow right underneath, but it's still going to be very dark because there's a lot of contrast there. I'm also trying to cast a shadow here. This is the benches basically casting the shadow on the ground, and that shadow is also very dark because the sun is directly hitting it. If the benches were on the other side or next to the church, the shadow will be a lot softer because the sun is not directly hitting the benches. So, and of course inside the steeple there's a lot of shadow there because it's a hollow place and it's directly in the sun. And I'm just applying some more shadows here because this is definitely it's difficult to paint here because it's all white. This steeple is quite interesting, and it has a little ball on top of it. And it only has 2 openings from 2 sides. It doesn't have 4 openings like usually steeples have in Italy. This one only has 2, so it's quite unique. So there's quite a lot of detail here that I'm trying to render these windows here and see if I can show that inside it's really dark. You should always remember that if there's a building, anything that's inside, it's going to look extremely dark. Although inside there might be light, but that's how you're going to see it. That's how it's going to be. buildings inside always have less light than the outside, unless there is a really bright light inside, and so it will make a contrast. So it will be lighter inside, and then outside it will be darker. But that's kind of an odd situation. It usually doesn't happen. It happens backwards. So it's like it's outside, it's the lightest, and then inside it's dark. So I'm starting to paint this plant. It's a tree basically, and I'm trying to apply some shadows underneath, so it looks like the tree is overhanging the wall. But I'm gonna do a lot more shadows here because I want it to look like the tree is really big and overhanging, bigger than the one in the picture. I did it on purpose because I wanted to see what would happen if I can paint this tree really big. It's kind of nice there, so I wanted to emphasize the size and everything. And here I'm applying the shadow that's being cast by the overhang. This shadow is not going to be as dark as the overhang because it's a projected shadow. It's not the shadow casted on the object. So it's a shadow that object is casting on another one. So in this case, it's the overhang casting a shadow on the wall, so on another object. And here, as you can already see, the perspective is kind of working out. It's basically, it looks like there is a church and there is a building next to it. It's already working out, but we need to work out the details, and especially we need to work on the trees because those are going to be, surprise, surprise, the darkest parts of the entire watercolor. So the trees are going to be really dark, and we're going to render them. But the tree on the right is going to have some light in it because it's a leafy tree. So there's going to be definitely some light coming through it. And I'm starting to make these trees a lot darker because especially these cypress trees on the left, because they're definitely going to be darker. And I'm not sparing color here. This is going to be a very dark. When you paint trees, you can leave, if there are cypress trees like these, you can leave some of the lighter parts especially on the top and on the side where the light is, but eventually you're going to have to work with the very dark greens because that's how these trees appear in nature. So I'm actually going to fill this out, all these trees that are overhanging the church. These are smaller clearly, but they are going to be playing a crucial role here. And as you can see, you can already see the effect of this tree that it has on the entire painting. It is a dark spot, and it's meant to be a dark spot because it's really where most of the light doesn't shine. And I'm applying some of that dark green here too. But this is a leafy tree, so there's lots of leaves here. So I'm trying to do more like a dot effect and paint it as if it had leaves like overhanging here, for example. So I'm doing like little dots so it looks like there is leaves. And I'm especially doing the dark sides on the bottom because that's where the most of the dark stuff is going to be. And then on the top of the tree, because the sun is on top, you're going to see some light coming through the leaves. So I'm leaving the light green on the top, and everything that's on the bottom it's going to be dark because the light basically doesn't shine there. Okay, applying more green here. I'm trying to smooth out the top because it's very difficult to see all the leaves, the details. So I want it to be kind of smooth, so it doesn't look like somebody just took a sponge and sponged it, but it looks a little bit more natural. And as you can see, I'm leaving those, there's a couple of areas that are white, and I'm leaving them white, and then eventually at the end I'm just gonna like brush them with green, so it looks like there are leaves there, but some light is shining through for some reason. There could be a missing branch or something, and I'm gonna leave them like that because it's really nice to see some light shining through. And as you can see, I left the leaves on the top very light green, and then as you go down, the leaves change color and become darker. So it has like a 3D effect basically. I'm also going to use a little trick here. I'm going to make the benches green, so it looks like they're blending with the painting, with the leaves and everything. And I'm trying to apply this shadow, which is the trees casting the shadow on the pavement there, and make everything darker. And here's those trees casting a shadow on the building. So it's going to have, the building is going to have a shadow that is casted by those trees, and also those trees are going to be casting a shadow down on the pavement, which, as you can see, works very nicely. The trick here is not to overwork it, because as soon as you start putting too much shadow, especially in the background, if it's like far away, if you do the shadow too dark, it's not going to work, because if it's far away, the shadow should be lighter. Okay, applying some more shadows here. I want to, there's a light there, and I want to have that light. I know you can't really see that light, but it's there. I want that light to shine a little bit because it's glass basically, so it shouldn't be too dark. And I definitely have to make more shadows here because the trees over there need to be darker. So I'm going to apply some more darker shades here. I think I mixed some green with black, so it looks a little bit more natural. So even though the shadow is on the building, I still mix some green on it as a reflection. I don't know if it works, but I think it works. Yeah, as you can see, there's actually green in these shadows, and I'm making sure that I don't overwork these shadows because they're nice as they are. They have to be skinny and long like this, so that they remind you of the tree. And I'm also painting the little wall here, and I'm making it darker here because I want some separation in between the wall and everything that's underneath. And I'm refining some details. This wall is all stones, so it's kind of difficult because this is of a small painting, and I'm having a hard time here to define the stones. And also, if I had more time, I could like work on those stones a little bit, but it's okay for now. I kind of like it. It doesn't have to be overworked too much. One thing I didn't do yet is the sky. But here's the thing, I was very undecided on how to make the sky because I didn't want a really dark sky like it should be. I just want a little bit of blue there. But it's not natural, because the blue should be kind of dark. But I didn't want to do that, because then all of the rest of the painting will kind of fade out. It will be attracted. Your eyes will be drawn to the sky, and I actually want the opposite. I want the painting to be what you're looking at, and the sky just has to be a filling. Like, even if there is nothing there, it's fine. I'm trying to apply some texture here to the building. This is a Romanic church, so basically it's built by with bricks, and I'm trying to do some texturing here so it doesn't look that flat. You can definitely do textures on any surface, depending what you want to achieve. It actually looks good if you very rarely a surface is just flat. There's usually some kind of texture on it. So try not to make surfaces too flat, like I did here a couple of times, and I didn't like it. And I'm emphasizing the perspective here by drawing some lines. It helps if you draw these lines, even though they might not be there in reality, but it helps with perspective, and so your eye is drawn towards the focal point, which is somewhere on that brick church. And some more shadows here, because we like shadows. There you go. Okay. And I'm already liking this, although it needs to be finished. So the sky is missing, and then we're going to do the little benches in green. This one is emerald green, and emerald green is actually used to paint benches. So it's one of those colors that people use to paint benches, and I'm just like putting a little bit of emerald green. I don't want to completely flood it, because these benches are illuminated directly from the sun, and so there's going to be a lot of parts of these benches that are going to be reflecting the light, and it's going to be a white reflection. So I left a little bit of white there, so the reflection, you can see the reflection of the sun. I mean, the effect of the reflection of the sun. And I'm texturing the wall here a little bit, so it looks a little bit more natural. Trying to get the stones in, although this is very difficult because this is a small painting. It's probably like, I don't know, like 8 inches by 6, something like that. So sometimes it's difficult to render things, especially textures, if you have a painting this small. And finally, I'm doing a little sky. Let's see, even this one, I already thought, oh my god, this is gonna be too much blue, and it's going to distract you from looking at the painting. And I agree. This was way too much blue, but I put it there anyways, and then it became too little blue. So I think I added some more blue because I wasn't really happy. But it turned out pretty nicely. I think it's fine. I just didn't want to hit with my brush any of the buildings or the trees, because sometimes the watercolor in the trees, since it's green and I just used it on the paper, it might bleed into the sky, which I didn't want. Yeah, see, I'm applying some more pigment here. It was a little too light at some point, so I didn't like it. So I'm doing a little bit more here, and I think it looks good. It's just I didn't want it to be too blue and to like overpower everything. But I think this is not too blue, so it's fine. I'm being really cautious here not to go into the brown. That would not be a good thing. If it started bleeding into the blue, the green or the brown, if it started bleeding into the blue, that wouldn't be a good thing, because then you would lose the effect of this is a tree and this is a sky. You don't want the colors to bleed into each other. In this case, sometimes it's good, but in this case, you want to keep them separate. Okay, wonderful. I think we got what we really needed. This already looks good. I like the shadows. I like how they play with each other. I'm just gonna paint this little part here, which has I don't know why I left that sliver there. I could have probably done something with it. I could have continued that watercolor on that side and made a little landscape, showed what the landscape is behind this whole thing. But I didn't have enough space there, so I'm just gonna fill it with green and pretend like there is greenery behind it, which is fine because it's trees. So I hope you like this little tutorial. Thank you very much for watching, and also check out my other videos. There's many more tutorials on my channel.